G'day world, Chris Hogan coming to you live from Myriad 2018, and we're here on Falls Farm in Mapleton with the man of the hour, Ben Johnston. And
Hey guys.
Ben's put on a fantastic feast, he's put on a fantastic show, an event, teepees, you name it. People are frothing, they don't want to leave. But, you know, the show must go on.
Yes,
Ben,
yeah, we need to get them back to the city. Otherwise, I think they're going to stay up here for the rest of the week. And there won't be many speakers to speak at the actual event.
Mate, let's first talk about your business journey. How long ago did Jospeph Mark start? So Jospeph Mark as an agency, how long ago did that start?
We're just coming up to 15 years. So, yeah, it's one of those stories. Dropped out of university and was doing freelance design and just loved it, and then evolved from freelance design into setting up the agency. So yeah, it's been one hell of a journey.
Yep. And your first hire is now your wife. No HR department back then. That was one of the jokes I just stole from him. And mate, I understand you've gone global as well. So you've launched into the US, got an office in LA.
Yep.
And mate, what was one of the key challenges with doing that? How did you actually do that?
Well, we were extremely fortunate. So we've got the agency side of the business, and we've also got a ventures side of the business. And so we build and find interesting technologies or things that we want to see in the world and go about looking to make them real. And a few of those ventures started getting a lot of traction in the US market. And so we were able to then leverage that and bring the agency in on the back end of already sort of this foundation of relationships. And then it just went from there. Like that was 9 years ago now. And so we've been able to balance the US and the Australian thing really well. And sort of, the funny thing about the US is they look like us, they smell like us, but they're not us. And so it does take some time to understand the nuance of the culture to then start to really activate it. And so, yeah, a couple of years in, we feel like we'd worked it out, and then now we've got a studio in LA, and we're just in the process of doing the same thing in Europe. So we've just established the Stockholm studio, and it's the first year in, so it's all the same challenges, like look like us, smell like us, different language obviously, but just finding those cultural nuances to then start to do business in the region. Yeah, it's really cool. Fantastic.
And so I understand in the early stages you were flying back and forth to help create that market.
Yeah.
One of the other challenges that one of my mentors has advised me, I also run another agency, are you a product-based business or a service-based business? So, you know, how did you overcome the challenge of that first step into creating product? Did you get some venture capital into it? What happened?
It's a challenge. Like to go consciously move from a service-based model to a products or asset-based model is a interesting. I was going to call it evolution. It's not, whichever way you look at it, it's been an evolution for us. But it really started with us. We've had quite an entrepreneurial spirit in the business from day one, and learnt as we go and worked it out and made a lot of mistakes. But you make those mistakes, you learn from them, and you don't do them again. And so we actually started off in the early days of the venture business building other service-based businesses in different niches, and that went well until we got to the point where we were like, the actual foundations of a service model has got its own challenges. So we started then looking at applying what we were doing with our clients, building these interesting, scalable
product-based businesses,
and going, well, maybe we should sort of take heed some of our own advice and look at our business. So out of that is where we've now started to develop a lot more scalable platforms. And so over the past about 8 years has been launched.
Yeah, fantastic.
A lot.
Building a team overseas that works well with the Australian team.
Yeah.
What has been some of the challenges you have had to overcome there?
So the big one is that cultural nuance, especially when you're in the business of like what we do, that so much relies on that team working together. I'm going to say it synergistically, but like having that sort of united trust in high performance teams, you can't. That takes culture, and that takes nurturing that. And so we've effectively exported Australians and our team into these places to then establish the foundations of those studios, and then we recruit in. But we've got the sort of the yeast, to start it off with. So that's the only that's the only way that we've found. Well, that's the path we've taken, and it's a little bit more effort. It's obviously there's a fair investment, like both on the for the team members. They're uprooting and moving to another city, but it's also a huge opportunity for them. And once you work through the visas and all of that associated stuff, at the end of the day, it's worked out really well for us.
Did anybody help you get there? Or any agency, any person, or is it all done by blood, sweat, and tears?
No, not well. There's a lot of people that have helped us out, but no one specifically. It's been, as I said, we were lucky because we were drawn there with existing product in market, and so through that we had like an entree of interested people to talk to, like going over and getting off the boat and sort of getting in there and pitching, whether you're like pitching for capital or looking to establish a business like from the ground up is a major challenge. So we've been able to sort of take the shortcut a little bit, but a lot of effort goes in, and then like we're still relatively a small team, but an international team in 3 time zones, so it's literally around the clock. And so the challenge for us is then also taking a team that it has traditionally worked really close together in a single physical location, and then working out what that looks like when you when you effectively split it all up. So like what's your new rhythm, and what are your routines, and how do you keep that that culture when you're all in different locations is something as an ongoing work in progress.
Yeah. Well done. And so I guess was that one of the reasons why you needed to create some balance in your life and bring in Falls Farm here in Mapleton, Sunshine Coast hinterland?
Yeah, well, it's I grew up like surfing and then in the dirt, like mountain biking, and so I love the outdoors. And so I had this sort of false optimistic, very naive idea that starting your own business means that you can just go surfing when you want, which is absolutely not the case. And so it's sort of, when we got to a certain maturity, then it was definitely, there was a yearning there to go and put sort of the roots down and get the hands dirty, and chose, instead of investing into 500 square metres in Paddington, to just do it a little bit differently. And for a fraction of the price of doing that, you get 50 acres in Mapleton with really fertile soil, and it went from there. Like, we didn't set out to make another business, but
but it's happened anyway.
It's sort of just... it's just sort of happened. So,
so you're farming fresh fruit and vegetables, and they're spray free.
Yeah.
Don't have the organic title, but it's beautiful food. I love it. I'm plant based. I just love it. And so we have teepees over there. You've had a wedding here. Far out, man. You've made a big challenge to look like you overcome, but the family's really come into it, hasn't they? You've got both families from Jess's side and your side lending a hand and also invested in this property, literally, the hands dirty.
Yeah.
Without them, what do you reckon?
Oh, yeah, forget about it. Like,
Again, the team. It comes back to the team
yeah,
again.
it does, and we didn't. Like, the story actually goes, Jess and I thought, oh, let's get a place in the mountains where we can sneak away for a weekend, romantic weekend, and next thing we know, we're in business with our parents, and they're knocking on the door on Saturday morning, going, "Oh, here's the task list." So, the initial vision didn't. Well, it didn't work. It morphed, but I wouldn't have it any other way. It's just been incredible, and yeah, it's sort of. When things are in flow and just they unfold organically, and like Mum's always, she's got a sort of, both my parents are history, they're artists, and then Mum went into the corporate world and had sort of 10, 12 years of that, and was just like, no, I want to get back to the earth. And so when we got the place, she was like, hey, I've got a random proposition for you. Do you want to start doing some farming? And that's where the conversation started. And then now there's a whole crew of full-time younger cats that are just super passionate about this sort of, it's almost, well, for us it's like an awakening, like people's orientation around food and the quality of food, whether it's like organic or it's like the principles and permaculture and like what you're putting into your system, and the understanding of that is huge. So yeah, we're this is just a massive experiment, like at the end of the day, and it's just been such a fulfilling and eye-opening experience to be part of that as well, and like you're always learning, but this has been an accelerated learning trajectory as well for us and for the whole crew here to just learn about the specifics of this property, like the specifics of the microclimate that is here, the specifics about the soil quality, and then to learn how to grow that. And it's just awesome. Like our produce sits on the plates of some of the most incredible restaurants in the region, with the most incredible chefs. Just and it's this evolution is where, instead of the farmer being almost subservient to the chef being the rock star, the chefs are turning around going, hey, no, it's like this. The produce and the quality of the produce is where it all starts. And so it's been incredible to experience the overwhelming interest from the chefs. They come up here pretty much every season and do a full sort of walk around the garden, and we just talk about what we're going to plant and what we're going to experiment with and what they want to experiment with, and then we bring it together. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but yeah, there's some pretty awesome dishes that have been plated up in some incredible restaurants because of that sort of relationship. So yeah.
What do you want from the Beach City audience? Do you want them to come and experience this place? What do you want them to eat the food at any of the restaurants in the region? What do you want?
Oh well, there's absolutely, like, if you are interested in terms of like what we're doing here, then we do have farm open days. Facebook, fallsfarm.com, where there's a produce list, so we do sell retail to the Sunshine Coast and Brisbane. And then the sort of restaurants. If I go through the list, I'll miss some, but yeah, there's sort of. Just go to any good restaurant
in the region. In the region. Yeah. And ask them if they're eating Falls Farm food. Yeah.
So,
great, man.
And then I guess on the other side of things, in terms of the digital side, it's just, I think we're also in an interesting time. Like, as agencies and the service model of agencies get, like, aspects of it become commoditized, then it's a really interesting time, because we do have that evolution of the core models, and so we're forced as creatives and entrepreneurs to look at ourselves and sort of find new pathways. So yeah, I'd just say like just keep experimenting.
Righty, man. Appreciate your time.
Mate.
Well done, Ben.
Thank you very much.
Mate, we'll share the love. So, guys, if you got any questions for Ben, feel free to put them in the feed, and maybe Ben will have some time to answer those if he can get himself out of all the businesses that he's got his fingers in at the moment. But keep watching on facebook.com/Beach City Life. We've got plenty more coming to you from Myriad 2018. Thanks to Everledger and Invest Sunshine Coast for bringing us here.